Welcome to the Roto Joes Fantasy Football Podcast. All types of stuff to talk about tonight. Kate and I will go over some news or noise, play a little this or that, talk about some sleepers. Real quick, do you think Baker Mayfield gets traded to Seattle before training camp?
No. I don't. They're unreasonably comfortable, it sounds like, with their really shitty quarterback situation. To me, that looks more like a tank job to get up and take, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, someone like that. Because you can't look at Geno Smith and Drew Lock and be like, yeah, we're good. You look at that division. That division is nasty. You can't comfortably look at those two guys. Do I think Baker Mayfield would be better than those two? Maybe by a little. Still a tough division. Still definitely not going to get him to the playoffs if that's, why waste the pick to be semi-competitive is kind of the way I see it.
Yeah, I've heard that they're open to an extension, so do I agree with it? No. Do I think it'll happen? Maybe. I don't think it's a smart thing to do, especially in that division, like you're saying. I just don't think Mayfield moves the needle, but they have said they're open to an extension, so you just really don't know. And Matt Rhule is going to get fired if he doesn't win this year. Or not. I don't know why I just brought up Matt Rhule. Totally off topic. Talking about Seattle, Pete Carroll probably won't get fired regardless. He probably has that job till he retires. Well, think we should just go into news or noise after that. News or noise, Treylon Burke being overweight, struggling with asthma.
So it's news to me. I don't know if it's – I heard like the first training camp he was struggling with asthma. Not a good look, man. Definitely gonna go with news on that. Just – he's a guy that I thought would go right in and almost seemingly replace A.J. Brown, and maybe we wouldn't even notice the difference, right? Now I'm kind of looking at it like maybe this guy shouldn't be playing in the NFL. Hopefully he goes and proves me wrong, but that's not good news out of a guy that, you traded away your superstar wide receiver and took, mid-first round. He was, the third wide receiver off the board?
Yep. Fourth.
Mm-hmm. I like the player a lot, and I hope Tennessee knew this going into it. Can't say if they did or didn't, but you'd hope they did their research and realized Brother's breathing a little bit heavy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's something he can't overcome, but especially for like redraft leagues, I'm probably not going to be drafting a lot of Treylon. I do like Robert Woods. Robert Woods is, I think, a sneaky upside wide receiver play late, but the overweight thing, the asthma thing scares me. You almost wonder, a lot of guys struggle, especially if they're super athletes, keeping their weight down throughout life until they really take it serious, which happens 2 to 3 years in the NFL. So I don't I'm probably not going to draft him this year. It's news for this year, but it ultimately isn't like a death sentence or anything, but it is concerning for sure. James Robinson will be ready by camp. News or noise?
I'm going to go noise on that because there is no way he might be ready to not be in a walking boot. But ultimately, there's no way that he's going to be physically ready. He might. It's one of those things. I'm going noise, definitely. There's no way that he's going to be able to be at a productive point by training camp or even the start of the season, in my opinion. I bet he misses, last report I read was at least 6 weeks of the regular season before he's 100%. And it's ETN season. I don't know if you know that, but
yeah, I agree. It's pretty much completely noise. ETN's going to be a beast this year. I don't think Robinson's going to come back and be 2/3 of the player he was before, much less the RB4 of 2020. I'm just not concerned with him in the slightest. Those Achilles are death sentences for running backs. People try to fuck around and act like they're not. Cough, cough, Cam Akers people. But they'll fuck a running back up. I'm not. Yeah, James Robinson's not going to factor into this backfield. I just don't see it.
I think they're going a different direction completely. He's a guy that I bet you they try to see what they could get out of him via trade because before anyone realizes that, oh, he may have like a serious problem type of deal.
I think that's 100% what's going to happen. Yeah, spot on. Alvin Kamara bracing for a 6-game suspension. News or noise?
News, but the other part of that news that I never even. So all I knew is he got arrested. I
don't think I've heard the extras.
Yeah, well, he fucking broke this guy's eye socket. That's what I come to find out. I don't know what the fuck. I didn't know any of this. I just knew he had some assault charges outside a a casino in Vegas or something?
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like. He broke the dude's fucking eye socket. I didn't know that was a breakable thing.
Jeez,
so yeah,
I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah, I mean, I read the whole thing, and I don't know why he did it. Alvin Kamara, he's a pretty stocky guy. He's the last dude I'd probably be fucking with on the street.
Yeah, you just wonder what the backstory is there. He doesn't strike me as a guy who would just go and beat the shit out of someone. He had no other problems in the league, so I just don't think he was mad. Like, see, dude had to do something to deserve that. But yeah, I think that's news for sure. Ingram, and then there's a guy from Baylor that went undrafted that they gave the biggest guaranteed undrafted free agent contract money to. I think his name's Abram Smith. He's a worthwhile pickup to look at. Whoever gets the carries, I don't think it's like back when Drew Brees was quarterback in terms of holding value, but they'll be playable. And you might be able to trade them off your team after a couple weeks to the Kamara owner. So I think that is news, and you should adjust accordingly. Hell, I picked up Mark Ingram off the waiver wire in a dynasty league. No reason for that.
No, I mean, you look at especially the dynasty league we're talking about, how deep some of those rosters are. The fact that a second string running back wasn't owned in the first place, I mean, regardless if it's Mark Ingram or
I couldn't believe it.
Or we got people with fifth string running backs on their team, so it just doesn't really add up to some degree. But yeah, he's definitely going to have value. And it's exactly like you said. You take him late round, pick him up off the waiver wire. Mark Ingram's going to have a couple good games. He does every year, no matter how old he is. And then you flip him while he's hot. I mean, that's just really what it is because, as soon as Daddy Kamara comes back,
Yeah. And, I mean, that's really how I think you build winning, especially dynasty rosters long term. Right. Is those I'm going to pick up a Cam Newton when he gets signed by Carolina last year and trade him for a Tim Patrick, who then turns into something else. That's real. I mean, that's a real life example of something that happened. But that's the way to really level up even bad dynasty rosters. Last one, NFLPA bracing for an indefinite suspension on Deshaun Watson. News or noise?
So, my original guess was 8 games. I know the last time we talked about this, I said a year. Definitely news, but I also learned a lot about the NFL's litigated process through this whole thing. Like the NFL Players Association and the NFL tried to come to terms on an agreed suspension, which I didn't even know was a fucking thing. I didn't think, why the fuck should they have any say in it? You know what I'm saying? But yeah. I guess from what I read, if they can come to an agreed suspension, there is no lawsuits afterwards, basically. All huge news to me. I didn't know that you could be like, hey, I know you want to suspend me for a year, but hey, can we make it 8 games and I won't sue you? Yeah, just added a whole new dimension to it to me. But basically they could not come to an agreement. So now they're going to the trial, which, believe it or not, it's a woman who's overseeing the trial, so he's probably in trouble. But I also did read that they're not even taking into account all of the cases because they could not get a hold, allegedly, of some of these women that filed lawsuits. So I'm not really sure how it's going to go. I mean, I still would say at least a year. I know they want to suspend him indefinitely, but I don't think that's going to stick. I'm going to still say probably a year minimum, though.
Yeah, I agree. I had sent it in a group we're in earlier, but it's kind of like the NFL and MLB are getting into a pissing match over if Deshaun Watson or Trevor Bauer is going to get suspended more. I think that, I mean, we talked about it like every episode all summer. The only people who benefit are Nick Chubb and David Njoku, and then everyone else in that offense gets downgraded. Do you think that Kevin Stefanski ever gets to coach Deshaun Watson on the football field? Because I could see him getting, if they have a bad year and Deshaun doesn't like him, he might get fired. I don't think he's all that. He's all right. I don't think he's what everyone fucking made him out to be after that first year. But I could see an avenue in which he never coaches them.
You know, I could see that too, and it's unfortunate because, you know, the guy's going to roll out there with Jakobi Brissett all year, in a very tough division, and just, you know, take dick all over the field all year, and really it's not his fault. But and then, you know, maybe Deshaun has some deals under the table, like, okay, now you hire Brian Flores and he gets his guy. Well, yeah, that. Never really thought about that, but that could be, you know, the end game. And, you know, I read another article that was, you know, basically saying that Roger Goodell is probably going to fucking unload on him just to punish him for trading for a guy and giving him a huge guaranteed contract like that. And
that's some Roger Goodell shit.
Yeah, that sounds real believable to me the more I read it.
Yeah, that's some Roger Goodell shit right there, if I've ever heard it.
We just did a a 12-team Superflex mock draft today, and had someone not been on auto draft in like the 18th round, he would have went undrafted.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
bad. Yeah.
That said a lot to me.
I can't believe you traded Jonathan Taylor, Brandon Ayuk, and like a first-round pick, and you got back to Deshaun Watson. Or you traded away Watson for that Taylor package. I could not believe it at the time. And I know at that guy.
Time, it was a great deal, and now it's an unheard of deal because.
No, I think he knew the whole time where that was all going. Smart money was there. All right, next segment.
It's just capitalizing at the right moment. That's all that is.
We're going to play this or that, so I'm going to give two players in a similar – you'll probably be picking between these guys at some point in some drafts somewhere. Trevor Lawrence or Trey Lance? And why? Quick why?
Trevor Lawrence, and I'm going to go with – because I know he's going to play all year.
Mm-hmm. I would go – Lawrence as well. I actually think that their offense got substantially better.
It did, yeah.
You know, you add in Evan Ingram, you add in a Christian Kirk, you add in I hate to be that guy, ETN. You add in a Laviska Shenault, who's allegedly faster. You add in actual people who aren't Urban Meyer. I think that's a really good situation for Lawrence. He wasn't bad last year. He just was throwing the fucking Laquan Treadwell and Jamal Agnew all year.
He was throwing his number one receiver spent about 3 years on practice squads before he got him. So, you know, I don't really blame him specifically.
I'm not too high on Trey Lance this year. I know a lot of people are. I see the upside, but I think you're kidding yourself if you think that Kyle Shanahan's just going to be like, all right, let it rip. That guy wants his offense run his way. And I just don't know if Lance is going to do that as effectively as we all just assume.
Definitely not probably year one. I think Lance can evolve into that person over time, maybe, if they give him the time to, grow within that system. But here's the thing is everybody laughs at Doug Peterson, but he took Nick Foles and won a fucking Super Bowl with him.
He made Carson Wentz look good.
He had Carson Wentz damn near looking like an MVP through about 12 weeks one year. And now we've seen some of these people without him. He's a good coach. Now, did Philly give him the keys to succeed all the time? No, but do they fucking ever? I mean, Andy Reid, he was there for fucking 12 years and never won a Super Bowl. He goes to Kansas City and wins one within 5, I think, do I think Jacksonville's ultimately going to give Doug Peterson the keys to succeed? Probably not, because it's fucking Jacksonville. But he's easily dealing with the best quarterback. He's probably outside of. Did he have Mahomes when he was in Kansas City? I don't think he did yet.
No, I don't.
No, I don't think he was there yet. Easily the best quarterback he's ever coached. I'm excited to see fantasy-wise and real life. I fucking hate Jacksonville, but I like Trevor Lawrence. So
Trevor Lawrence is a more polished Josh Allen with some rushing upside. People don't know that. People don't realize it. All right,
he's generational talent that we want to see succeed.
Tom Brady or Matt Stafford?
Matt Stafford. I think it's just a more established system. Every year, Tom Brady still does great, but he's down a lot of weapons at this point. And Matt Stafford's just gaining weapons everywhere. And truthfully, there's a story to be said about Todd Bowles' takeover. I know Leftwich is still there, but I just see the Stafford situation going better.
See, when I had looked at it, I initially thought I would pick that. Brady's the offensive coordinator. And
Brady's a season too, so.
And I started out like, there's not a lot of pieces. Mike Evans is an alpha. Tight end doesn't matter. He'll make whoever look good. Russell Gage is better than I think people realize. Godwin's going to be back eventually. I don't think the team – I think that I have Brady over Stafford just because I think there's a lot of talent there. And Brady might throw the ball 700 times this year. That's it. I think that Todd Bowles has the defense and then Brady has the offense, and it's just completely separate.
It was very, very surprising to me to see him come out of retirement. And it was very surprising to me to see Gronk be like, nah.
Yep, I agree. I couldn't believe that. I swore Gronk would be back. It seemed weird that he wasn't. I swore Gronk would come back. Come back and play this year for them. But maybe he still will. He might just want to not go to training camp. I don't know. And retire after training camp, come back, playing to shake the first 8 weeks. That's some Gronkowski shit to do. Saquon Barkley or Ezekiel Elliott?
Oh man, this is a tough one. I have to say Zeke, but it's not because I like the player more. I just know he's got a higher floor. Saquon Barkley, here's the deal. I almost posted this on Twitter the other night, but I just knew I was going to get flamed for it. But I'll just say it. This is Saquon Barkley's last chance. Mm-hmm. After this year, we got to stop putting the respect on the guy like he's going to do what he did 5 years ago. You have one good year in 5 years. Kind of sounds like Eddie Lacy. Clearly different physical abilities, right? But production-wise, I don't really see a difference. Do you?
No, that's a good Eddie Lacy, Trent Richardson, another one who had one good year.
Those 1 year wonders. Now, his is generally like injury. And I remember watching him last year and watching like one of his injuries, I watched the play. I don't remember why the fuck I was watching a Giants game, but offensive lineman just crushed his fucking ankle in one of those games. And it just wasn't even his fault, but I think he missed 4 games after that.
He didn't look the same after it either.
No, and he really hasn't since his first, what was it, an ACL tear year 2, right?
Yep.
Just never really looked the same. Here's the deal. Zeke's going to get the work. Zeke, his lowest season finish not last year, but the year before, I think, was RB11. And right now he's going 4th, 5th round, kind of about the same range as Saquon Barkley. Now, did he underperform on you? Probably, but he's still going to get the workload. He's still not that old yet. He's got some high mileage at this point, but I just feel like he's got the safer floor.
Yeah, I'm going to say something real dirty. I kind of like Ezekiel Elliott at his price. I don't know. It's kind of fallen a little too low. He's going to catch 40 passes. He's going to get, 250 carries. I don't have it in front of me, but somewhere in that range. He's going to get a lot of goal line work. And I know everyone loves Tony Pollard. I don't think that guy's all that good. I mean, he's a great complementary back to a guy like Zeke, but he's not going to go carry the fucking ball 20 times on you. He can't. He just doesn't have that in him. I think it's pretty easily Zeke. Saquon got outplayed by Devontae Booker last year. Now, the team was really bad. Jason Garrett was calling plays. Daniel Jones isn't he wasn't coached the best until now with the ball coming over. So, there are some things around Devontae Booker playing better, but Barkley just looked bad. The injuries are a major concern. If you know you're going to get 16 games, Saquon would be the easy pick. But Zeke's going to play. I know we've heard it past 2 years now, but he's coming into the year healthy. And we're not that far removed from a Ezekiel Elliott who, until Dak got hurt, was a top 2 running back in the NFL 2 years ago. We're really not that far away from that. So, this or that, Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Miles Sanders?
I don't really like this one. I mean, I just take Miles Sanders because of lack of other competition, and he is more efficient. Now, Edwards-Helaire will have his boom games, but I think they're phasing Edwards-Helaire out. I mean, Ronald Jones is there. He just kind of a similar situation. He just got flat out outplayed by Jerick McKinnon quite a bit last year. Which Jerick McKinnon, I forgot all about him until he burst into Kansas City. And he's back, by the way. I don't think either one of them are going to win you the league, but I would definitely rather have Miles Sanders, and that sounds disgusting to say.
He's not that bad. He doesn't get a lot of work. He's kind of like Antonio Gibson, where he just doesn't get steady enough work to really be I'm going to rely on him. But he used to get drafted in top 15 RBs, top 20 RBs. Now it's not so bad. I'd go with Miles too for the same reasons. He's locked into a workload that Rojo, if he starts playing well, they might not look back. Rojo and Jerick McKinnon season. They might. Clyde doesn't mean shit to them anymore. He's not. He's been in the league 3 years now. So yeah, I agree. Robert Woods or Christian Kirk?
Oh, Robert Woods. That one's easy for me. I think he's one of those criminally undervalued people going into this year just because, Tannehill kind of sucked last year. But just the lack of, what's Treylon Burks going to do right now with, and it's easy to get caught up in training camp headlines, but the truth of it is Treylon Burks is a rookie that apparently has some health issues, and Robert Woods has been a productive receiver even on shitty teams.
Yeah.
So he was on the Bills when they weren't good. He was productive. He was on the Rams before they got good. He was still productive. He's kind of in that same class as Brandon Cooks, where everybody always kind of sleeps on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I would much rather roll Robert Woods on that one.
I agree. Woods had 4 straight wide receiver 2 years before last year, and he was having another one last year. So, I'd fire Woods up. He's the number 1 there. It's pretty easy. Hunter Renfrow or Jakobi Meyers?
Renfrow.
Mm.
Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, I just, man, if there was ever a situation where Renfrow was going to be what we thought he was going to be, it's going to be this year. I like him in that Julian Edelman type of role for McDaniels. He's one of those guys that there's been a lot of hype around him for a while, and I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. A lot of hype around him, and he hasn't quite lived up to that, but I think this is his year.
Yeah, I actually agree, even though I'm a New England homer. I don't like our new offensive setup because I don't. Matt Patricia fucking sucks. And Joe Judge fucking sucks. And so, fun times. I almost hope Bill calls the offense. But, I'm in on Renfrow. Even though he's the 3rd option, he'll still see targets.
Who is the offensive coordinator in New England?
Allegedly Matt Patricia. But people are suspecting it's some mix of Patricia, Judge, and Belichick. Which
wasn't Matt Patricia a defensive coordinator?
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna let him.
Which might work in some fucked up weird way. That might not be as bad as I think it's gonna go, but I think the chances are it goes like shit. He's either going to know exactly what's going on the other side of the ball and call spectacular games, or, like I said, to do shit. So.
I didn't know that. That's bad.
It is bad. Njoku or Gesicki? Last one. This or
that? This year only, I'm going to say Gesicki. Just because I saw a crazy stat last year that Gesicki, and I might have said this before, Gesicki lines up in receiver positions like 92, 93% of the time, which is like 10 to 15% more than even Kelsey or Andrews or any of that. And I think he benefits from Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle burning everybody deep. I think that's going to really open the middle up for him. I think like I said, man, tight end's a different game this year. I think you can get a lot of quality guys late, and he's one of those guys that I kind of have circled on mine. Now, what was the second option?
Njoku.
Njoku, man, I've been an Njoku guy, right? And I think he's finally going to get his opportunity, especially with Landry and Odell gone, and Cooper really pretty much being the only viable receiver on the team.
He doesn't like cold weather. Did you know that?
Who?
Amari Cooper legitimately hates playing in cold weather. He's playing in Cleveland. In the AFC North. I swear. Heard it on the GM Shuffle, which is a guy who used to work in New England. So.
I didn't even know that. But yeah. Ultimately, I think Njoku's going to have a good career, but I think we're probably going to have to wait a year for that.
Yeah, I'd pick Njoku just because I think Brissett actually helps him. Brissett targeted Gesicki 7.7 times a game last year when he started. If Njoku gets 8 targets a game, over. I'm not a big believer in Cooper, like I just said. He doesn't like playing in cold weather, and they literally play 3/4 of their games in cold weather. So we'll see how that goes, though. I don't think the Cleveland situation is going to be spectacular this year. And Gesicki has better coaching staff, better weapons around him to space the field out. So, it's really that one could go either way. And I think you're right. Tight ends 15, 20 deep this year. I feel comfortable into like the 20s.
Yeah, and I was looking at it today, in that mock draft, and I got, God, that was one of the last things I addressed, I almost had a completely full roster prior to taking a tight end. So we're talking 12th, 11th round, give or take. And I was choosing between Freiermuth and Gesicki, which I feel just fine about either one of them.
Yeah.
I remember years of playing tight end, waiver wire, carousel. You're like, oh, I could pick up Delaney Walker, I guess. He might fall in the end zone. There was a lot of bad options out there.
Yeah.
And, like, hell, even last year wasn't that great. I forgot who I picked, but it didn't work. Ended up getting Ertz off the waiver wire when he got traded. That was lucky for me. Yeah, and it was one of those things where I was sitting there looking at it, and I'm like, do I pick him up or do I just go with what I got? And I was like, oh, I'll pick him up.
I wish I would have grabbed him.
20-point games here and there, and I'm like, hey, that's just fine.
No, he's still a viable starting tight end. I'd love to have him, especially before Hopkins is back. That's going to be their number one red zone weapon. All right, moving into the meat of the show, sleepers. We have 8 sleepers. Caden, your first sleeper, Justin Fields. How are you feeling about Justin Fields this year?
Man, that's my guy. I'm going to tell you this. He's a 50-50 shot as far as I see it, because like we said before, I'm not in love with the coaching staff. But he gives you the potential to be fantasy-wise as productive as Kyler Murray. Very similar skill sets. His receiving core is a little weak, but that's just fine because he has the ability to take off and run. I said it last year on the pod. Eventually, he is going to be the most productive fantasy quarterback from that class. And I don't know if it's going to take 2, 3, 5 years, but he has that potential. And he's a guy, I'd without question take him as my second quarterback in a 1-quarterback league and just see what happens. Just unlimited potential. And like I said, I don't know if this is specifically the year, but sooner or later he's going to be a household name in fantasy, at least. Kind of like a Jalen Hurts. He may not be a real good game-winning quarterback, but fantasy-wise, I think he's going to be a guy that people can rely on.
Yeah, I like Fields. I'm a little worried with the lack of support around him. I don't like losing Allen Robinson or replacing with Byron Pringle, even if it's the version of Allen Robinson who doesn't want to be in Chicago anymore. But yeah, you're exactly right. It's a 50-50. Is he going to be productive yet or not? I like Luke Getsy more than I think most people do, their offensive coordinator. They didn't really do a lot to strengthen their line. It'll be interesting. I'm curious to see if they let him bootleg in West Coast outside zone schemed up play action plays. Because I could see Justin Fields scoring a lot of fantasy points off those bootleg runs. That's something that I think he'd be real successful with, pushing the ball down the field to Mooney and taking off out of it. Just that really fits into his skill set. So I hope to see that a little bit. My first sleeper is Davis Mills. Davis Mills is getting grabbed at quarterback 28. Now, I don't know. I'd assume. I don't remember who their second quarterback is, but it's not Tyrod Taylor anymore. It's not someone. It's not someone who's gonna threaten for a starting job. Davis Mills has absolutely no pressure from the room right now. Because I want to say it might be Tim Boyle. Maybe
he was on the rod. I know AJ McCarron's gone, and he was the backup.
Whoever's there isn't going to take over, even if Mills plays bad. No. I think Mills is locked into this year as the starter, unless he gets hurt. Pep Hamilton's OCing for him, which you like that. Pep Hamilton's going to design an offense like purely based around his strengths. He's a really, really, really great quarterback coach and a great offensive mind who exponentially levels Davis Mills up. I mean, Davis Mills with a Joe Judge, we wouldn't even be talking about him. But with Pep Hamilton, you really kind of like it. again, not going to get overtaken this year. In the last 5 games of the season last year, where he kind of had his footing under him, understood the NFL game a little better, Mills averaged 17.7 points per game, which is really pretty good. I mean, that's right outside quarterback 1 numbers. You take that. He's a good deep ball passer, 4th in deep completion percentage, with Brandon Cooks, a deep ball threat, as his number 1 option. And the AFC South they don't have one good secondary. None. So you get 6 games where you get guaranteed production, good production, no other player in sight, and he's getting drafted all the way down at quarterback 28. Why wouldn't you take the guy, especially in a super flex league? Obviously, in a 1 quarterback, you're not even thinking about Davis Mills.
Yeah.
But in a super flex, he could be a pretty decent quarterback 2 or a great quarterback 3 that people just overlook because he plays for Houston. And they're going to be down a lot. So really good garbage time ops.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got my opinion of Davis Mills. I'm really excited for this year because they fully committed to the guy even prior to the draft, and they did. I mean, they had 6 opportunities to draft Malik Willis before.
Yeah.
He probably got picked. That says a lot about how they feel about him. You're right, Pep Hamilton. He is, if nothing else, an extremely good quarterback coach. Now he's the offensive coordinator. They got experience together at this point. And, the guy was the number 1 quarterback recruit going into college.
Mm-hmm.
I truthfully believe that he stayed last year at Stanford, and he would have been the first quarterback taken in this draft, just skill-wise, because, I mean, it was so bad that Pete Carroll tried to say Drew Lock would have been the first quarterback drafted. I also don't believe that. Yeah, that fucking guy.
Couldn't believe that.
Yeah, I'm big on Davis Mills this year. I'd love to see him, blossom to a point where we don't have to, take a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud because we're picking first overall. I think that'll be Seattle, but yeah, he's got all the tools to succeed. He's in a good system. They did get him some help. They got Mechie. They got they added a couple running backs because our running backs were just fucking horrendous last year. Beefed up the offensive line. I mean, they really went out of their way to give him the tools to succeed. Now it's just up to him. So yeah, that's a gamble I'd be more than happy to take.
Yeah, it's so cheap. So cheap. You're grabbing him down where you're getting like Sam Darnold, who probably won't start 16 games. Next sleeper, your next sleeper. Allen Lazard, wide receiver for Green Bay.
I like it. I just, the obvious, Devontae Adams is gone. They got Christian Watson. I don't see him being a huge threat to.
He can't catch the ball.
Yeah, apparently not.
Rodgers ain't throwing the damn ball.
Yeah, and Rodgers is very, man, until you become one of the boys, like, he doesn't even fucking look at you. You know what I mean? And it's so weird. It's like a little cult out there in Green Bay. Like, if you're not on Rodgers' good side, you might as well sit your ass on the bench because,
Yeah.
and he's that good that he gets away with that kind of shit. So, yeah, but no, Lazard, I mean, he's got immense value. I didn't look up his ADP, but
wide receiver 43.
Oh God, take him.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'd take him right outside of 20 if it was me. I just think there's so much upside there. And, I saw this thing. We were talking about Gabe Davis earlier. And, I'll just go on record and say that the Gabe Davis hype is unnecessary.
I'll talk later about the Gabe Davis hype.
But I just blatantly said I'd rather have Allen Lazard than Gabe Davis. Just purely upside. Even if he plays as good as he did, he still had at least a couple wide receiver 2 or higher finishes.
He finished last year at wide receiver 43 in points per game. No, 45. Wide receiver 45 in points per game. You're drafting him at his floor with an alpha next to him. It's dumb. I've been beating the Lazard drum most of the offseason at this point now. Clear number one. They didn't really fucking do anything to supersede that. He's improved every year, which is something you see a lot out of these like lower key Aaron Rodgers alphas, is that like they kind of come out of nowhere and just go, oh shit, this guy's good. I don't think he's the most talented receiver of all time, but Aaron Rodgers is such a good quarterback. I don't think that matters. Like we said, Christian Watson drops the fucking ball too much. Maybe in year 3, he's not gonna get shit this year. Fucking don't even waste your picks on him. Not a big fan of him. He's not a wide receiver 1, but I think he finishes really easily in like 25 to 30 range. So I'm big on Lazard too. I think that as I've done this longer, you can see the wide receivers who are going to break out a little bit before it starts. You don't know how far, but you can kind of see. And Alan Lazard has all those little like inklings of I'm going to break out this year.
You can smell it at some point.
Yeah.
And, in NFL fantasy, sometimes opportunity outweighs some some ability. We see it. Oh God, what's a good example? Trying to think of it.
James Robinson in 2020 being RB4.
Yeah, and it was just opportunity presented.
Najee last year, he didn't play that well, but
no, he wasn't super efficient, but got a lot of work. Yeah, those kind of guys, and I think he really fits into there. Now, if you have him in Dynasty and he hits a couple good weeks, 3-4 good weeks, I
can move him.
But I just, I'm always looking for that right moment to trade somebody.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to be successful in Dynasty. There's no one I won't trade for the right price.
Oh, yeah, no.
But it has to be the right price.
I got Jonathan Taylor, and if the right trade came through, I'd click it.
That you just have to, especially for a running back. I think if I had Justin Jefferson or Josh Allen, it would be a pretty hard bargain, but I could do it. But even Jonathan Taylor, I wouldn't. It wouldn't even be like that astronomical. It would be big, but next my sleeper, I have Tyler Boyd, which I cannot believe is going down at wide receiver 52. This guy was the wide receiver 32 in PPR points per game in 2021. Wide receiver 36 and 20 and 29 and 19. So not only are you grabbing him at his floor, you're grabbing him 20 spots below his floor. Why? Because apparently it's Jamar Chase's second year, which means that Tyler Boyd just can't be good anymore. He had 12 games over 5 targets, so it's not like he doesn't get consistent slot targets. Does he get a lot of passing touchdowns? Not necessarily, but it's a high-volume pass touchdown offense, and I think most defenses will be keyed in on the certain 2 guys on the outside. So you could see a little bit of positive touchdown regression, not much. If one of Higgins or Chase goes down, this guy I'm not expecting him to be a wide receiver 1, but he could be a top 24 wideout those weeks without Chase or Higgins. He's very talented. He's just behind 2 great young wide receivers. Like a lot of these guys, Tyler Boyd's not gonna win you your league necessarily, like by himself, but it's a guy like a Tyler Boyd where you can plug and play 5 weeks when one of your wide receivers are out. He gets you 10 points a game, 12 points a game. That really solidifies championship efforts, gets you good playoff seeding. All of these things matter in the long run. So I really like Tyler Boyd. He's another one. A lot of these guys are guys you grab late, hoping to get some type of value out of. And Boyd's definitely one of them. He's not as much a trade chip like some of these other guys have been. Like, no one's going to be fooled by Tyler Boyd. No one's going to trade an astronomical amount of value for him. But rostering him as a flexible guy week to week is very much worth it at that wide receiver 52 price.
Oh, down there, just to be honest, if you're getting anything worth a shit.
Hey, there's a lot of good wideouts down there now. A lot of folks overvaluing some dudes.
The 0 wide receiver or 0 RB strategy is a real thing, and if you do it right, it can work. But it's just, in my opinion, something I probably won't do just gamble wise, because that can blow up in your face really quickly. But yeah, Tyler Boyd, I mean, he's one injury away from some very serious production, I feel like.
Well, it just takes one Jamar Chase fucking twisted ankle even. I mean, something as stupid as that.
Then he's in there. But, he could also return value just if they start using him a little more in the slot. I mean, he could be the slot receiver. He's a good player.
That's what I think they moved him into that role last year for the first time, like mainly, all the time. And he played well.
Had they not got Jamar Chase, he would have been the wide receiver 2 on an offense that just got a lot better. So, really good potential there. And Jesus, wide receiver 56, if your draft even lasts that long, he's definitely worth a pickup, especially in dynasty leagues. I bet you could get him for pennies on the dollar right now.
All this ADP too is underdog. It's not fantasy pros, not that bullshit. It's actual like people drafting for money. So yeah, it's pretty bad actually. I couldn't believe that he was that low in money drafts. That's bad.
And you got to realize that not everybody in your league is going to go buy ADP. They're going to go. There's bias. There's, fanboy shit that we see all the time.
There's people who don't pay attention till August.
Don't pay attention till August. I mean, and that's what makes fantasy leagues unique. Is it's not just because if everybody was just reading off the ADP sheet, you could pretty much project your entire draft before it ever happens.
No.
And that's what makes it interesting is the people who take Travis Kelce 101, and you're sitting there like, oh, shit. What was it one year we had Carl fucking
Raheem Mostert.
Matt Ryan.
Oh, you're talking about a different
Matt Ryan at 3 1 year. Yeah, he took. I was sitting at 4, and it was like right after Matt Ryan's MVP year. He took Matt Ryan at 3, and then I got Le'Veon Bell, and it was great. I think that might have been the year he ended up holding out, but at the moment it was great. But yeah, that kind of dumb shit. There was Nick who took Denver defense in the 3rd round. There was all kinds of good shit. So I think that's what makes it interesting. But to get back to the point, Tyler Boyd, wide receiver, what did you say, 56?
53, yeah, way late.
53, definitely going to outperform that by quite a bit.
Your next sleeper, Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce, I don't know how you say it. Why do you like Dameon Pierce this year?
Just for the pure fact of opportunity. I know there's some Marlon Mack truthers out there. The guy's always hurt.
Or his Achilles.
It's just a matter of time. He couldn't even beat out Naheem Hines for, the whole Jonathan Taylor's water bottle. Just don't really love Marlon Mack in the system. I think Dameon Pierce is going to definitely day one come in and probably be a 3-down back. Maybe even a 4-down back. He's got that big physical pound at 1 yard kind of ability that I really like. Is he going to be an RB1? No. But, you like opportunity, right? Like a guy who's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to be on the field a lot. You love a rookie as far as a running back. I could see him easily finishing low-end RB2, high-end RB3 numbers this year. Lovie Smith, he's the kind of guy that's ground and pound and play defense. That's the kind of guy he's always been. So just like it based off of opportunity. I don't think he's going to be a big pass catcher, but, a couple of years down the line, we could be looking at who's someone relatable?
Chris Carson.
Yeah. Just a guy who runs hard, hurts his neck.
After getting traded for Javonte Williams.
Yeah, that's a fucking awful trade when you look back at it. One's never gonna play. Neither one of them are ever gonna play football again. And so to break it down, what'd you trade? Tell me again.
I traded. It's on our dynasty league. It was my stepdad I traded with. I traded Henry Ruggs and Chris Carson for Javonte Williams and Austin Hooper. The next week, Chris Carson. Before the trade, I had read that he might have some spinal issues. So I had a little bit of beforehand knowledge, but this is at the rumor stage. So it's not far enough to concretely be like he's never going to play again. Just a little inkling and a suspicion. So I moved him. And the next week, he's out. And then 3 weeks later, I'm in Oklahoma City on vacation with my fiance. And we're in the hotel room. I look down on my phone, and Henry Ruggs has hit a woman and killed her. I'm like, word, that was a fucking great trade.
So that's a bad deal.
But yeah, Dameon Pierce definitely has some like Chris Carson potential if they don't go Bijan Robinson next year in the first round.
True.
I like Dameon Pierce too, not a Matt guy. The Achilles thing, man, I'm gonna say it 1,000 times this summer. Running backs off of Achilles don't fucking produce well. So yeah, I mean, I just don't see a situation where he doesn't overtake that backfield when Rex Burkhead and Marlon Macker's main competition. And yeah, small receiving
at least
floor.
1 year. I'd say it's his for at least 1 year. I think we had a solid draft this year, but even after that draft, we still have holes to fill. And I feel like there's going to be a bigger priority than running back.
I don't think that any smart, even Bijan Robinson, who seems to be like Saquon Barkley but not as hurt, I don't even think you should draft a guy like that in the first 15 picks. Am I being honest? Someone will probably do it, but
I think it's got to be damn near a generational talent to even crack the first round anymore, because that just seems like almost unheard of. I mean, Breece Hall, I think he's going to eventually be a great running back in this league, but even he had to wait till, second round.
Yeah, no. Yeah. My next sleeper, Jamison Crowder. So, I wholeheartedly believe that Jamison Crowder outscores Gabe Davis this year, full stop. Cole Beasley was wide receiver 38 in 2019, wide receiver 31 in 20, and wide receiver 40 on a shitty year in 2021. Each of those years, he saw at least 105 targets. Jamison Crowder is a better version of Cole Beasley. Quicker, catches the ball better, a little bit better after the catch. Really, he's more durable than people realize. He's played over 12 games in 6 of his last 7 seasons. And every year where he gets a decent amount of targets, he finishes in that like wide receiver 45 to 30 range. Josh Allen likes to use a slot guy. The offense prioritizes it. Gabe Davis is going to be the same Gabe Davis we've seen. He'll run deep routes. He'll have a couple boom games. Overall, nothing special. Jamison Crowder is the secondary wide receiver to have. For sure. He's not going to score a lot of touchdowns. So in like a standard league where you don't get any points off of receptions, not worth very much. But in half PPR and PPR, this guy's going to be a wide receiver 4 or better. Easy. Getting drafted down at wide receiver 61 because he played for the Jets and people think he sucks because the Jets suck. But yeah, I love Jamison Crowder this year. This is his first real quarterback ever. So I'm excited to see what happens here.
Yeah, I'm in on that one. Definitely for the value you're going to get him at. I mean, let's just take a look back. So he played for the Jets. Mm-hmm. Nothing notable to talk about. I think he was catching passes from
Joe Flacco / Zach Wilson / I don't even know who the fuck was there to begin with, if I'm being honest. 4 years ago, I don't know.
I know he played for the Commanders / Redskins.
The team formerly known as the Redskins.
Football team and the Commanders, or whatever the fuck they are this week. Yeah, so his best quarterback he ever played with was probably Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I think that's about, and he's kind of like Allen Robinson. You're excited for a good reason. Wide receiver 60, that's disrespectful in my opinion. I mean, you think even if he has a flatline season and he's just as good as Cole Beasley, you're going to double your investment.
Yep.
Yeah, and it could go much higher than that. That's really what that offense was lacking, is a very solid slot receiver.
Yeah.
No, the Gabe Davis hype is just unnecessary. I mean, I haven't been, and I started reading some of this shit today, and I was like, let me put him on the trade block real quick.
Him and Kyle Pitts.
Don't hate on Pitts now.
I got into this argument in that draft earlier. It goes along the same lines as Gabe Davis. If your highest career production is X, and there's no clear way you're going to get to Y from X, then you shouldn't be drafted at Y, which is that's what's happening with Gabe Davis. It's what's happening with Kyle Pitts. They're not going to produce that high. It pisses me off. My little nerd math brain just gets pissed by that because I just know that won't happen.
Okay, Kyle Pitts is going to outperform 2021
I agree
just solely based on points. And you want to know why he's going to outperform that? It's because he only found the fucking end zone once.
And I agree, but I just don't think he breaks. I think Schultz, Kittle, Waller, Andrews, and Kelsey are all going to score more than him pretty easy. And Schultz tight end 4 last year. I just don't. Pitts as a talent is better. He's a top 3 tight end. I agree, but that's his ceiling. That's his ceiling in 3 years when he has a good quarterback. So
okay,
yeah. Next,
I agree.
Your last sleeper, keeping it in line with talking about some tight ends, Gerald Everett. I like some Gerald Everett.
I do too. So you were really hype on Gerald Everett last year. Seattle didn't really pan out, but here's the deal.
He played well for Russ a little bit.
He had a couple good games. I mean, the talent's there. We all know the talent's there. But I like pairing him up with that weird kid, Justin Herbert. I mean, Justin Herbert's out there just fucking slinging it. Mm-hmm. And, I think the Burrow versus Herbert thing's a solid debate. I personally favor Herbert by a little bit, just based off skill set. He's got tons of weapons around him. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that loaded AFC West, I think I kind of favor the Chargers. Just by a little bit. I think their defense is a whole lot better. But anyway, back to the point. Gerald Everett, he's young, he's physical, he's got all the tools to be a productive fantasy wide receiver. He improved a lot going to Seattle last year, and I think this is the point where we see him take a leap into a top, I don't want to say top 12, but I think he'll be close, maybe 13, maybe 14, somewhere in that range, and potential for better some weeks. I mean, Justin Herbert had weeks where he made Jared Cook look respectable.
Yeah, and Gerald Everett, it's normal for tight ends to break out after their first contract. Jared Cook wasn't good until he was like fucking 34. I think Gerald Everett, this might be his year. They're talking about using him on like screens and jet sweeps, and the dude's super athletic, so it makes sense. I like it. Everett's one of those like old dead zone tight end guys who is actually like decent upside. Like you don't mind it. My last sleeper, kind of saying along the same lines as a tight end, people don't really think about as much. Evan Ingram, going at tight end 22. Ingram was the tight end 4 in his rookie year, tight end 7 in 18, and then somewhere along the lines in 2019, tight end 7. Daniel Jones comes in, and he's the tight end 18, and then he's the tight end 23 in 2021. So until there was a Joe Judge Daniel Jones combo in New York, this is a guy who was a tight end 1 every year. Was he as good as we thought he would be a couple of years? No, but he was still a productive tight end. And then he gets a shitty coaching quarterback. Fast forward, Doug Peterson's his coach, who made Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert both look really good. Trevor Lawrence is there, who's going to use his weapons well. Why is this guy getting drafted at tight end 22? Dan Arnold's not going to take him over. And I like Dan Arnold. He's not bad, but he's not Evan Ingram. He's super athlete, mismatch nightmare. They're going to use him, especially with Christian Kirk being like by far the best receiving option, and then having like Marvin Jones, ETN out of the pass game. Evan Ingram's probably going to end up being their number 2 wide receiver. And I'm all for it. And so, I mean, he's getting drafted tight end 22 on Underdog, which again is for money. I don't understand that, but he's an awesome, again, tight end dead zone guy who really it's not a dead zone anymore.
No, we're definitely past the dead zone. I am one of the people that is beyond fucking guilty of believing in Evan Ingram much longer than I should have. I drafted him years where the facts were all in front of me, and I still chose to do it anyway. And I got burned by it. But here's the truth is he was a tight end 1 until Eli Manning retired. And then, yeah, you insert Daniel Jones. We all know how that goes. You sprinkle in some injuries for him himself. If he is healthy all year, I think he returns to that tight end 1 stature, just because he, how soon we forget this guy was a first-round talent, early first round, if I remember right, like top 10, right? 8, 9.
I don't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, he was an early first-round pick, I believe, at least the first half.
I remember that for sure.
I mean, uber talented guy. Just one of those storybook things that just in the wrong system. I mean, tight end 4 his rookie year with Eli Manning, and you can't tell me Trevor Lawrence isn't better than Eli Manning.
Oh yeah, no.
He's not. He's definitely not old by any means. He's not. He just unfortunately was injured. Go signs a 1-year prove-it deal with Jacksonville, and I think this is finally it. And he kind of falls into that same bucket of Saquon Barkley, where if this isn't your year, we might be done talking about you. So
I agree with that. He's like a good secondary tight end. I mean, I'll probably this year my redraft strategy, in all honesty, will probably be not to grab a tight end and grab like Njoku plus and roll with that. But Ingram would be good for that. Anything else we want to go?
Really for a lot of these guys, I mean, the way I go into drafts is, especially if I take my starter high for that position, then I fill it on the back end, especially in redraft, with just like high upside guys. May not really coincide with ADP by any means, but say you got a good tight end, say 5th, 6th round, then I'm going to wait and take an Ingram and just see what happens. Because in reality, if you have a guy that could start every single week, you're really only needing that other guy for 1 week, maybe 2 or 3 if it's just a horrendous matchup. But yeah, I mean, take your guys with a little bit of boom potential, like a Jamison Crowder. He could be your 5th receiver. That doesn't matter. And if it blows up, who cares? Because he sat on your bench all year. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure, especially in redraft. In Dynasty, I kind of like that too, honestly. My bench, now I've strategically traded, but my bench is full of guys who could probably start on most of the other teams. But they're also boom or bust. Like, they won't just score a lot every week. They're hard to figure out. But, yeah, I'm in complete agreement. Anything else we want to go over? No? All right. I think that we will see you guys in a week and a half, 2 weeks, somewhere in that time frame. Training camp starts mid-July. More to talk about soon. Until then, we'll see you guys next time.